moments of crisis, it's not just what happens in the air, it's what follows on the ground that defines everything. Hey everyone, welcome back to Movies on the Brain. I'm Jason, and today I'm diving into Sully, a 2016 drama directed by Clint Eastwood, based on real events that turn a routine flight into a national headline. Starring Tom Hanks, Aaron Eckhart, and Linney, this film doesn't just revisit the famous emergency landing. It examines the weight of memory, scrutiny, and the question of whether doing the right thing is ever enough when the system demands answers. Let's take a closer look. Sully opened in theaters on September 9, 2016 with a budget of $60 million. During its 20-week theatrical run, it earned $125 million domestically and $118.8 million internationally, making a worldwide total of $243.8 million. Its opening weekend saw it earn $35 million, finishing in the box office at number 1, ahead of the likes of The Wildlife, 2016's Suicide Squad, Don't Breathe, and When the Bow Breaks, numbers 5 through 2 respectively, with The Wildlife and When the Bow Breaks also opening the same weekend. Its final week in theater saw it earn $10,784, finishing its box office run at number 61. On January 15th, 2009, Captain Chelsea Sully Sullenberger and First Officer Jeff Skiles take off in U.S. Airways Flight 1549 from LaGuardia Airport. During climb out, the Airbus A320 strikes a flock of birds, damaging both engines. Without much time to think, they judge themselves as unable to reach nearby airports, Teterboro Airport being the closest. And Sully ditches the aircraft on the Hudson River. Though some suffer mild injuries, all 155 crew and passengers evacuate successfully. Sully is heralded by the public and the media for his unprecedented feat of aviation skills, but experiences after effects and finds himself unable to escape the attention of the press, which is targeting not only him but also his family. Still in New York City for investigation reasons, Sully learns that preliminary data from ACARS suggests that the left engine was still running at idle power. Theoretically, it still had enough power to land the plane at either LaGuardia or Teterboro. Furthermore, the National Transportation Safety Board, or NTSB, claims that several confidential computerized simulations show similar results. Sully and Jeff firmly insist otherwise, and this opposition gradually intensifies the relationship between both parties. The NTSB suspects it may be a case of pilot error, which would likely destroy Sully's reputation and career. He arranges to have the simulations rerun with live pilots and then relayed to the public. They result in successful landings. Sully debates that the simulations are unrealistic because they do not take human factors into account, such as the element of surprise, the time required for analysis and decision making, and the significantly higher stakes that he and Jeff faced. Simulation pilots knew in advance of the situation that they would face and of suggested emergency action, were able to practice the scenario several times, successfully completing the simulation only after 17 previous failed attempts. Had no passengers to think about and were in no personal danger. The NTSB reluctantly accepts his criticism, and the simulations are rerun with a 35-second pause before the plane is diverted. The LaGuardia rerun ends with the plane crash landing short of the runway, and that to Teterboro with a crash into buildings before it can reach the airport. After listening to the cockpit voice recorder of the real-life incident, NTSB announces that analysis of the left engine now recovered from the river confirms Sully's account that it had indeed been seriously damaged by the bird strike, and concludes that Sully had acted correctly in the event. Sully credits everyone on board, the air traffic controllers, the ferry crews, and the emergency response teams for the success. Jeff jokes that he would have ditched the plane in July if he were to do it again. Now let's look at the cast and some of their other roles. Tom Hanks as Chelsea Solon Sullenberger. Other roles for Tom Hanks include Leland in The Phoenician Scheme, James B. Donovan in Bridge of Spies, and Walt Disney in Saving Mr. Banks. Blake Jones as Sullenberger at 16 years old. The only other role Blake Jones has had is Jeff Gray in Congratulations. Aaron Eckhart as Jeff Skiles. Other roles for Aaron Eckhart include Howie in Rabbit Hole, Evan Shaw in Classified, and Bill in Meet Bill. Laura Linney as Lori Sullenberger. Other roles for Laura Linney include Kathy Jameson in the TV show The Big C, Sarah in Falling, and Eleanor Green in Man of the Year. Mike O'Malley as Charles Porter. Other roles for Mike O'Malley include Lenny Horton in The Perfect Man, Knox in Meet Dave, and Charlie Gully in the TV show Heels. Anna Gunn as Dr. Elizabeth Davis. Other roles for Anna Gunn include Skylar White in the TV show Breaking Bad, Martha Bullock in the TV show Deadwood, and Emily Reynolds in Enemy of the State. Jamie Sheridan as Ben Edwards. Other roles for Jamie Sheridan include Jim Sullivan in Spotlight, Andrew Borden in Lizzie, and Bill in Driven. Ann Cusack as Donna Dent. Other roles for Ann Cusack include Donna January in the TV show The Boys, Nurse Claire in The Hammer, and Linda in Nightcrawler. Autumn Reeser as Tess Sosa. Other roles for Autumn Reeser include Taylor Townsend in the TV show The O.C., Carly Kendallwood in The Curse of La Llorona, and Suzanne in Kill 'Em All. Molly Hagan as Doreen Walsh. Other roles for Molly Hagan include Aileen Walker in the TV show Walker, Janine in Not Safe for Work, and Judith Marsh in Beneath. Jane Gabbard as Sheila Dale. Other roles for Jane Gabbard include Jen in Close to Home and Deb in the TV show Math Warriors. Holt McCallney as Mike Cleary. Other roles for Holt McCallney include Bill Tench in the TV show Mindhunter, The Mechanic, and Fight Club, and Director Moore in The Amateur. Chris Bauer as Larry Rooney. Other roles for Chris Bauer include Frank Spotka in the TV show The Wire, Andy Bellafleur in the TV show True Blood, and Holt in Thunderbolts. Patch Dara as Patrick Harton. Other roles for Patch Dara include Bobby Breslin in The Union, Daniel Sullivan in The Apprentice, and Officer Kaplan in Let's Be Cops. Rob Trevier as the ATC supervisor. Other roles for Rob Trevier include young Chris's father in The Accountant, Dr. Williams in The Bay, and Bud Brown in The Mist. Jerry Ferrera as Michael Delaney. Other roles for Jerry Ferrera include Turtle in the TV show Entourage, Jeremy in Think Like a Man, and Rick in Flight 7500. Max Adler as Jimmy Stefanik. Other roles for Max Adler include Dave Karofsky in the TV show Glee, David in The Binding, and Jacko Birch in the TV show The Flash. Sam Huntington as Jeff Collegier. Other roles for Sam Huntington include Luke Haldeman in 2014's Veronica Mars, Eric in Fanboys, and Jimmy Olsen in Superman Returns. Michael Rappaport as Pete the bartender. Other roles for Michael Rappaport include Tom Scoggins in Deep Blue Sea, Ben in Hitch, and Hank Morgan in The Sixth Day. Wayne Bastrop as Brian Kelly. Other roles for Wayne Bastrop include Donnie in Radio America, Young O'Brien in Terminator Genesis, and Conway in Cowboys and Indians. Valerie Mahaffey as Diane Higgins. Before her passing in May of 2025, other roles for Valerie Mahaffey included May Ellen Waterloo in the TV show Heart of Dixie, Bitsy Simmons in Jack and Jill, and Annie Howard in Seabiscuit. Jeff Kober as L.T. Cook. Other roles for Jeff Kober include Jacob Hale Jr. in the TV show Sons of Anarchy, Sergeant Evan Winslow in the TV show China Beach, and Redding in The Hills Have Eyes Too. Molly Bernard as Allison. Other roles for Molly Bernard include Elsa Curry in the TV show Chicago Med, Alicia in Hitman, and Lauren Heller in the TV show Younger. Jeffrey Nordling as Barry Leonard. Other roles for Jeffrey Nordling include Gordon Klein in the TV show Big Little Lies, Tom Burnett in Flight 93, and Richard Mackey in Tron Legacy. Maybe it's just me, but I feel like the nightmare sequence was unnecessary for immediately starting at a hearing for the investigation of the crash on the Hudson River. Makes the nightmare seem irrelevant if we don't actually lead into the goings on before the accident. I'm liking these conversations between Sully and his wife Lorraine. Tom Hanks and Laura Linney have such good chemistry, even though they're not physically face to face, and I love how they're both portraying being overwhelmed about Sully being a hero despite what the NTSB might think. What a line and delivery by Tom Hanks. In the end, I'm going to be judged by 208 seconds. Although, also, I'm loving the chemistry between Aaron Eckhart and Tom Hanks. You really feel there have been pilot and co-pilot through one of the scariest situations you could go through as a pilot. About a quarter of the way through, after the second NTSB hearing, you feel like they're just out to get Sully and Skiles, and you can cut the tension in that room with a knife. We finally get to the actual reason for the investigation, and we see the start of what I'd imagine was the longest day for Sully and Skiles. What an amazing scene showing the takeoff, the bird strike, and then the air traffic control, and then getting the air traffic control viewpoint, and the way Patch Dara was portrayed being shell shocked at how calm Sully was is incredible acting by Dara. The stone expression from Tom Hanks is really selling the determination that he's making sure everyone on his flight is off before he makes his exit. What a great performance by Tom Hanks. Public hearing, when we finally see the simulations and the way Sully tells the NTSB that the simulation pilots literally have no reaction time, just go into the immediate turn, is fantastic staging and acting by Tom Hanks. And I love seeing Skiles just cheesing it when they're showing the simulations go wrong. Aaron Eckhart is absolutely killing it by acting like he knew the simulations would fail. At least during the public hearing, there was a bit of comedy to ease the heaviness of the movie. You know, Clint Eastwood sure knows how to direct the exception of the opening, in my opinion. This is a fantastic biopic on an amazing piece of history. Plus, getting to see the real Sully during the credits, you can see why they cast Tom Hanks. They kind of had a similar build at that time. Now let's look at some fun facts and trivia about Sully. Ferry Captain Vincent Lombardi, who was the captain of the first ferry to reach the airplane, played himself in the film. Chelsea Sullenberger was present at the studio. He supported the film and helped it reflect reality. Producer and director Clint Eastwood deliberately filmed the escape onto the life raft without rehearsal in order to capture the physical difficulty of releasing the raft. The actions of Tom Hanks and Aaron Eckhart were unscripted. The production filmed scenes at the New York Marriott downtown hotel where the original crash landing survivors were brought after the incident. Tom Hanks spent half a day with Chelsea Sullenberger at his Bay Area house during pre-production. Sullenberger said he was impressed by how well Hanks caught him. Cactus was the air traffic control for America West Airlines, so named because it was based in Phoenix and needed to sound distinct from American Airlines. America West later became part of the U.S. Airways. That's why the flight was identified as Cactus 1549. All four pilots in the simulator were actual airline pilots. Lori Klein, the pilot of the Teterboro simulation, was a U.S. Airways check pilot check pilot for the A320 and was also involved in the actual crash investigation of Flight 1549, working as the airline's rep for the NTSB operation team. The biplane on which Sully was training in the flashback is a very rare Stearman Cloudboy, one of just 6 still flying at the time this film was made. Clint Eastwood was particularly drawn to the story, having survived a water landing in a plane decades before. And that's it for Sully, a story that builds with quiet tension, questions everything, and then finally exhales with clarity. It's a reminder that even in the most extraordinary moments, the truth doesn't always come easy, but when it does, there's a weight that finally lifts. Thanks for watching Movies on the Brain. I'm Jayson, and I'll see you next time, where the next story might just take flight in a way you don't expect.